Alright, so Neverness to Everness hasn't been out for all that long, but I still think it's worth going over who the biggest and the baddest are in this game. Now, this won't be in any particular order except for the first one because they're basically the best character in the entire game. Without further ado, let's get into this thing. Just real quick though, for some structure, we will be doing a top 5 best characters in Neverness to Everness, but at the end we'll also be doing 5 runner-ups. So if yours didn't end up in the top 5, maybe they're in the runner-ups. And if you like any other characters or you felt like they deserve some praise, put them down in the comments below. Now let's just get this first one out of the way here. This character needs no introduction because you already know who they are, because they walked in here with plot armor. That's right, it's the main character, Zero. This character is quite literally an Esper cycle on a stick. It's attached to literally the most synergetic element in the entire game right now. Need I say more? And yo, this character only gets better from here because we have access to a limited amount of these awakenings right now, bro. And yo, even though this doesn't really matter, it's just style points here, but you can change between male MC and female MC, and you are also going to get a whole bunch of different outfits. This character is going to get more outfits than any other character in the entire game, and we're going to get a whole bunch of them for free or through a gacha system that you're going to be going for pretty much just the vehicle for, so you're going to kind of get it for free anyway. Yeah, and let's be honest, those don't actually count towards the top 5, but style points are still fun anyway. The character also has versatility. You can build them like 2 main ways, right? One of them built on Speedy Hedgehog to be able to like synergize better with that cycling and energy building, right? And then you could also just go for like a damage build on the Cosmos set, right? You can go to the shop, and also there's a super duper cheap weapon you can just get there right off the bat if you're like a day 1 player. It's like just $1. Or you can just go straight free to play as well using... This character has so many different options, it's crazy. It is the main character. They are the most free to play friendly character in the entire game. It makes sense. The combat is smooth and buttery like a biscuit. Easy to play, and for all the meta slaves out there, this is the perfect Switch Tech character. This character is going to be meta relevant for a very, very long time, and I potentially see them even buffing the MC one day if it's necessary, but if they follow the same trend as a lot of these other MCs have done and a lot of the other big gacha games, we're probably going to end up getting other classes or elemental reactions and different things with this character. And the fact that this game has elemental reactions and potentially other... Dude, this character, this guy is the limit for Zero, seriously. This is the best character in the game, hands down, and has the most longevity out of all the characters released so far. And can we just give NTE some flowers real quick here? How many times can you say the main character is the best character in your gacha game? Because right now, it's just NTE that I'm playing that's got that going on. Like, nobody else doing that. Alright, now let's move on to the next character here. This is the best support character in the entire game. Now, support characters are usually the best characters in these type of games, but in NTE, we have a rare exception where Zero is just so synergetic for Esper cycling and stuff like that they kind of like take that step up above. But Irui is not all that far behind, and Irui is the next character on this list. Now again, this list wasn't made in any particular order with the exception of Zero, but there is an argument to be made that Irui might be the second best character in this game, especially considering they're the best support character in the game, and you could use them as a generic buffer on literally any team if you wanted to. And if you wanted to use them as like a best in slot or most meta slave type of option, she is actually going to be synergetic with the best teams in the entire game, with the exception, of course, of the Lacrimosa team. And because this derpy-foot goofball is a healer, you can actually use them as a get-out-of-jail-free card if you're, like, let's say, new to the game, or maybe not like a meta slave or something like that, right? And for anybody that hasn't done those high-risk anomaly commissions, you can go do those pretty easy squeezy with Irui now. Now, they are only one-time, like, earn rewards, so, like, if you have already done them, like in 1.0, like many players already have, you can't earn them again, but if any of them come out in the future, she'll be a super easy ride for that. Of course, only time will tell if Irui ends up being like an Astra Yao or a Shorekeeper or like a Ron Mei of NTE, a super OP, early, generically good buffer, but we'll just have to wait and see, right? It looks like Linko's going to end up coming out as a buffer as well, so we'll just have to see what the landscape is. NTE is doing things a bit differently, but it stands currently right now as Irui is being one of the most valuable characters you could have possibly pulled in this game so far. And now it's time for my favorite character on this list. It's the drunk hag herself, Hitori. but you already knew that because you could hear her and smell her before she even walked in the room. Now, in the main endgame mode, we need 2 teams, right? But we only have 1 Zero, right? Only 1 super synergetic Cosmos character. Oh no, we have 2. We have Hattori. So Hattori and Zero end up being these just super amazing characters that we basically slap on one team, and then we slap the other on the other, and then boom, pow, surprise, we just clear the content because it's super easy with these characters on your team. Hattori is an absolute beast. She can also, like Zero, be played 2 different ways, mainly with that Cosmos set, or actually also similar to Zero being built for cycling with the Hedgehog set. She has a time-stopping ultimate that deals a ridiculous amount of damage, okay? And in a game where you're not fighting really the enemies, right? Who cares about the enemies? You're not really fighting like the stage or anything, or the bosses, right? The main thing you're fighting is the clock. And Hattori literally says, screw that clock. There's a joke in the gacha scene that you shouldn't pull the first premium characters in the 1.0 banners because they tend to fall off pretty quickly, but I don't think we're gonna be saying that about Hattori anytime soon. And on top of that, once again, she's slapped to the most energetic and important element in the game right now. In fact, because she is a Cosmos character and she is a sub DPS and so synergetic with so many different teams right now, I think she'll remain a top 5 potentially, even after other elements take the stage and they're shilling for those other elements in the endgame. We'll just have to wait and see if that remains the case. Maybe she won't be a top 5, but she'll definitely still be a top tier sub DPS. Did I say Hattori was my favorite on this list? I lied, bozo. It's time for my girl to take flight. Even though she mostly just dies because she can't actually fly because she's too, weighed down by the cake. That's right, it's Hathor. She likes to get down, which is why you stay bricked up. But most importantly, she's literally the best Lakshana character for her role, making her the best in slot for some of the best characters in the entire game, like some of the best DPS characters in the game, making her such a utility, such an important and good value pull. In fact, there's certain characters that I think are the most important pulls you could use as a new character with your 5-star selectors, or sorry, your S rank selectors, and she's one of them. Now, I do think it's inevitable that she probably gets overshadowed by a future sub-DPS Lakshana unit that comes out in the future, but we know at least for a whole entire patch, like 1.3 for example, that's not going to happen, so she has at least some longevity down the line. She's also a 1.0 S rank that you can keep powering up over time because you're going to lose 50/50s and you're also just going to win them on the standard banner. So she could end up being a very powerful unit long term, even if there ends up being a limited character that fits her role. Besides, we need 2 teams for our endgame, right? If you just so happen to end up wanting 2 Lakshana sub DPSs, you'll still need her even if another limited version comes out, so she'll still have longevity for a good amount of time. Besides, she provides crit rate and Remora extension, and that just doesn't fall out of the sky. Now, this is the part where I'm gonna basically tell you whose slot Hathor took instead of. It was Jing Yuan, who nearly made the top 5, but didn't quite make the top 5, and I'll explain more about that in a second here, but yeah, Hathor and Jing Yuan are the best characters for their role. However, technically, right now, because Nanali released in 1.0, you could do a Copium substitute with Nanali instead of Jing Yuan right now, but it does not feel as good to use Skia instead of Hathor. So I had to really nitpick here in order to choose one over the other because they kind of felt neck and neck in terms of value. Actually, I felt like Jing Yuan might have more value in a way, but there's actually a lot of value in the Nanali compositions as well. So because Skia is your only other option if you don't have Hathor, I ended up having to give it to Hathor, but we're really splitting hairs here, okay? Depending on what you need for your endgame situation on your account, obviously, it's just dependent. Sometimes Jing Yuan's going to be more important, sometimes Hathor is. This is just a top 5 list, okay? That's why you might be able to imagine Jing Yuan's going to end up being in the runner-ups. Just a little bit of a hint. And now that you know that Jing Yuan's in the runner-ups, you may have already figured out the last slot that we have here, and it's for Sakiri, because again, support characters just provide way too much utility, especially in the early goings of these games, that you cannot ignore. Technically, Sakiri has an attack buff that you could use universally on like any team. It would be technically copium versus some of the other more synergetic elements you could have, like Hanyul or maybe Irui or something like that. But there are going to be teams where Sakiri is best in slot. And also, again, similar to Irui, you can use Sakiri as a generic buffer on basically any team. And because the buffs last a long time, the character's pretty easy to use. This does give you a little bit more ease in rotations, which does make things a bit more enjoyable and a bit more easy to make rotations. This also means future characters down the line will be more synergetic with the character too, as far as generic buffing is concerned. We also are going to end up giving Sakiri this slot because we have other characters about to come out that are going to end up being synergetic with Sakiri, so Sakiri's value is only going to go up from here. Well, maybe not too far up, because it's like the shortest character in the entire friggin' game, but you know what I mean. I'm sure, though, you may be able to imagine that Linko's also going to be coming out with Mrs. Z, and probably going to end up being the true character you're going to want with them, but I don't think that's necessarily taking away from Sakiri's value right now. When patch 1.3 comes out, you could probably assume that Linko's going to end up taking that spot away from Sakiri, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. We're making the list today, not in, what is it, like 2 weeks from now? Whatever, you know what I mean. We'll do another list in the future down the line once enough patches come out. This is just for today. So we're going to try to speed run through some of these runner-ups here, okay? Just because we've touched on some of them already, right? Such as Jing Yuan. Easily could have been in the top 5. In fact, we do have 5 top 5, right? We have a 5 runner-up, so think of this more as almost like a top 10, and maybe these other 5 are just lower on the top 10 list, I guess you could say. But Jing Yuan and Hanyul are super-duper great characters. No slouches here whatsoever. Don't fret these characters. They'll give you that fade, okay? Now, for these next 3, there ended up being no actual like DPS this time around that made the top 5. There was no super definitive standalone top tier with a huge gap above the rest. And at this stage in the game, the utility from the buffers and sub DPS characters ended up being too valuable to overlook. But the next top 5 video will be returning with the old structure where we guarantee at least 1 DPS makes it in the top 5. Longtime viewers may remember the structure from old videos we use in other games. And those 3 are going to be Chaos, Lacrimosa, and Shinku. Now, when you look at these characters, don't think like who's 1, 2, or 3, okay? When you see the end game, just look at whatever element you need and pick one of them, okay? Because they're that good. And they could actually just solo the content by themselves. I've proven this several different times with all 3 of these characters, in fact. And I'm going to keep doing that with these characters in NTE for as long as I can to kind of just keep proving that NTE is very casual friendly. You don't even need any buffers or anybody else on these characters right now. We'll see how long that lasts for. Hopefully it lasts a long time. I like doing these challenge runs. It's fun. But it is fair to say that the buffers and the sub DPS characters are still more important and valuable at this stage in the game. Don't worry, we'll be putting a main DPS character or more in a future update of this type of video. Now, if you think there's anybody else who should have made this list like Mint, wait a minute, I forgot to put Mint on the list. Ah, dang it, I gotta do the list all over again. Okay, we'll put her on there next time. Trust, okay, trust. This isn't copium, okay, guys? She's definitely a top 5 character. I swear to God, okay? No, seriously, let me know what you think about the list down below. Let me know who you think should have made the top 5 and the runner-ups, or anyone who didn't make the list at all. If you like this kind of stuff, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.